Let me ask you something. Have you ever realized, mid-sentence, that your whole life was a setup? That the person you loved most might be the one with their hands on the trapdoor? Yeah, that happened. I can still taste the metallic tang of the tea he handed me, that for your nerves smile plastered on his face, while our neighbor Evelyn, with her vulture eyes, watched me like I was the punchline to a joke only she got. You know what I mean? It's like you walk into your own living room and suddenly, you're the only one who missed the memo. Let me back up a sec. The night this all really snapped into focus started with a dinner, one of those heavy, silent ones where every fork scrape sounds like a threat. Daniel, my husband, the hotshot lawyer in a suit so crisp you could get a paper cut, was playing judge and jury from across the table, his words polished, cold. "You're slipping, Clara," he said, and Evelyn nodded, lips curled, like she'd been waiting all week to agree with him that I was tired, sure. 45, scientist, had spent the last month racing to finish my water purification patent because, I don't know, maybe I care if kids in polluted towns can drink clean water someday. But the way Daniel leaned in, talking about my fragility, like he was diagnosing a broken vase, I could feel the old panic flare up. He poured me tea, just so gentle, his back to me, his hands moving too carefully. I saw something slip from his fingers, a pill maybe, dissolving with a swirl. The warning bells in my head, deafening that I wanted to scream, throw the tea in his smug face, but all those years of his concern, the subtle ways he rewrote my reality, made me freeze up. I took a sip. Chemical. Bitter. Instantly, the room felt wrong, angles sharper, Evelyn's gaze pinning me to my chair. It wasn't just Daniel's game. Evelyn was in on it. That was the first twist, right? I'd always thought she was just nosy, the type who brings over muffins and fishing questions. Turns out she was the lookout, feeding him my every stumble, by the time I staggered to the bathroom, I could barely stand. But as I splashed water on my face, my fingers grazed something in my pocket. A small, tarnished key I'd seen fall from Daniel's jacket. My vision was hazy, but my mind latched onto it. A clue, a way out, maybe. "You're not unraveling," I whispered to the pale ghost in the mirror. "You're being hunted." Outside the door, Daniel and Evelyn's voices floated through, soft and plotting. "She's not coping," he said. "She'll be out soon." I gripped the sink until my knuckles ached, forcing my brain through the fog. My life's work, my patent, he wanted it. Needed me out of the way to sell it to Klein Corp, the same people choking those towns. Evelyn's role? Spy, liar, probably getting a cut. But I'm not the collapsing type, and I sure as hell wasn't about to be erased in my own home. I played along. Limped out, face drawn, voice weak. Daniel's relief was almost comical. He thought he'd won. That's when I decided to give him the performance he wanted. Let him think I was fading while I pieced together the puzzle. Next morning, I called Elena, my old lab partner, on a burner phone. Elena, loyal, fierce, heard the panic in my voice and didn't hesitate. She hooked me up with Tom, a private investigator who'd already started poking holes in Klein's shell company. Tom's advice was simple: collect evidence. Hair for toxin tests, get inside Daniel's office, look for contracts. I hid a recorder under his files and nearly fainted from the rush. The deeper I dug, the uglier it got. Klein Corp had a history, buying green tech just to bury it. Daniel was set to cash in, with Evelyn as witness to my decline. My heart pounded as I found a sealed envelope in his briefcase, marked with the same lock symbol I'd sketched in my journal days before, in a moment of gut instinct. The real breaking point came when Evelyn cornered me at the community center. Her mask finally dropped. She wasn't just a bystander. She was the muscle. "You're weak," she hissed. "Daniel's right to take over." I felt the old fear tighten my chest, but then I saw Maya, a 12-year-old kid clutching a water filter sketch I'd helped her with. And that's when I remembered why I started all this in the first place. I'm fighting for her, for all of them, not for Daniel's approval. You want a second twist? Here it is. Evelyn wasn't just Daniel's spy. She was Klein's fixer, sent to handle loose ends. She and her goons tried to corner me in a warehouse, fists flying. But I'm not made of glass. I swung a metal pipe, ducked, ran, bruised but alive, clutching that damned key like it was my own heartbeat. Elena and Tom got me out. We hit Daniel's office, pried open his safe with the key, and found everything: contracts, emails, a flash drive with video footage. And that tape? It showed Daniel drugging my tea, clear as day, bragging to Klein about how I'd be out before the conference that we raced to the Seattle Environmental Conference, every second feeling like the last. Daniel, standing on stage in front of scientists and activists, tried to spin his story, his fragile wife, needing care. He didn't see me stride up, take the mic, and let the truth burn through every speaker in that hall. The video played. The crowd gasped. Evelyn and Klein, caught in the crossfire, faces draining of color. Cops swept in, snapping handcuffs on Daniel and Klein. I stood there, heart pounding, key cold against my skin, telling everyone, my patent, my work, wasn't just for me. It was for every community fighting for clean water. My victory was public, brutal, cinematic. But that wasn't the end. Daniel tried one last card in court, promising his law firms millions for clean water projects as penance. I took the funds, not for him, but for the towns he'd tried to crush. I launched the Bennett Clean Water Initiative. My lab became a place for misfits. Maya, now designing filters of her own. Leia, a nervous prodigy who found her voice next to mine. Elena, always by my side. Tom's texts chiming news of Klein's collapse. Sometimes I still feel Daniel's threat like a chill in the room. But the key around my neck isn't just a relic. It's a promise. Never again. I'll mentor 100 Mayas, pin every letter from a saved town on my wall. If you're listening, hear this. Your voice is your strength. Never let anyone, no matter how close, turn it into silence. Oh, let's open this up. What would you have done in my place? Is justice just the end, or do the scars keep us sharp? Drop your thoughts, your own stories, in the comments below. Tell me what part hit hardest. What makes you grind your teeth in anger, or hope, or both? Because honestly, we need every voice to build the world we deserve. Thanks for sticking with me. See you in the next fight. But you know, winning in public is a lot messier than it looks on paper. After the Seattle conference, people kept asking if I felt triumphant, if I'd finally slept easy with Daniel and Klein behind bars, the crowd's cheers still echoing in my ears. The truth? Some nights, the applause sounds like warning bells, and every shadow in my apartment feels a little too long, a little too much like Evelyn waiting to pounce. That's what nobody tells you about surviving betrayal. It doesn't just end. It lingers, it mutates, sometimes makes you jump at your own reflection. The morning after the verdict, I sat at my kitchen table, sunlight catching on the key now hanging from my neck, and just stared at the court papers, the contract, Daniel's neat signature beside Klein's. It's funny, I used to love his handwriting. Now it makes my skin crawl. But that was the thing, right? The whole story wasn't about revenge or even victory. It was about refusing to be erased, to become a cautionary tale whispered by people like Evelyn over wine. Calls started rolling in, news outlets, law firms, even a couple of politicians wanting to shake my hand. I let them go to voicemail. The only calls I picked up were from Elena and Tom. Elena's voice was always sharp, always real. We're not done. Klein's appeal lawyers are sharks. Tom, cool as ever, already tracking where Klein's assets were hidden, ready to testify if I needed him. It helps having people in your corner who don't just want the headline. You know what I mean? But the best part? The mail. Hundreds of letters, drawings from kids, stick figures holding hands, towns with bright blue water, a little girl with wild curls grinning beside a filter that looked suspiciously like Maya's sketch. Some days I would just sit and read them, hands shaking, teeth grinding, letting every thank you anchor me back to why I'd fought so hard. I started a board above my desk, pinning every letter, every sketch. When the doubts came, I'd look up and remember. I wasn't just fighting Daniel or Klein. I was fighting for all the voices they tried to silence. The Bennett Clean Water Initiative took off faster than I could have dreamed. Maya was there at the launch, still 12, still clutching that battered sketchbook, but now with her mother beside her. "You made this real," she said, eyes shining, and I almost lost it right there. Kids from all over Oregon showed up, some scared, some shy, all carrying the hope that maybe this time, grown-ups wouldn't let them down. We built prototypes, tested filters, argued about the best way to fix a broken pump at 2 in the morning. It wasn't perfect, but it was alive. Yeah, Evelyn's shadow still hung around, especially when Klein's people tried to intimidate me, sending thinly veiled threats and legal documents stuffed with jargon. I kept every letter, every email, my new armor. Elena would just laugh, tell me to focus on the work. Let them chase ghosts, she'd say. We're building something real. She was right. Every day in the lab, every dirty, noisy afternoon at the community center, I got a little stronger. I stopped waiting for the other shoe to drop and started trusting myself again. But the world doesn't just let you ride off into the sunset. There was the night Daniel's attorney called, offering another settlement if I'd walk away, let the patent die quietly. You'll never be safe, he whispered, and I realized then how afraid he was of the truth, how people like him always are. I didn't answer. I mailed the tape to 3 different journalists instead, and then came the conference in New York. This time, I wasn't just a victim on display. I took the stage, standing tall with Elena, Maya, and Tom at my side. I told our story, no tears, no begging for sympathy, just the facts. How easy it is for corporations to silence dissent, how betrayal can wear a familiar face, how we all have a key in our pocket if we're willing to look for it. The crowd's response? Electrifying. Suddenly, other scientists, other survivors started stepping up, sharing their own stories. Turns out, I wasn't alone. Not by a long shot. Meanwhile, Klein's empire unraveled. The news broke about their history, buying and burying clean tech, poisoning communities to save a buck. Evelyn's smug face flashed across the screen, indicted right along with her bosses. I'd say I felt pity, but honestly, it was relief. You mess with enough lives, you get what's coming. The best twist, though? Maya's filter design, the one she'd drawn in my classroom, got picked up by a nonprofit. It's being distributed across rural America, saving kids just like her, just like I once was, quiet, overlooked, waiting for someone to listen. Now I mentor a whole crew of Mayas and Leias, every one of them stubborn as hell, every one a reminder that resilience isn't just surviving. It's building something better from the rubble that I kept the key, of course. Still wear it every day? Not because I need it anymore, but because it's a piece of the fight, a symbol of the door I kicked open, the truth I refused to bury. Daniel's final snarl, "This isn't over," echoes sometimes, usually late at night when the lab's quiet. But now it just reminds me to keep my guard up, keep fighting, keep teaching the next kid that her voice is her power. So here's the thing. Justice? It isn't neat. It doesn't tie up with a bow. Some wounds don't heal. They become scars, reminders, warnings. But they also become blueprints. That's what I'm building now. A future for people like Maya. A world where no one has to drink poison or swallow their own voice to survive. If you've ever been silenced, erased, made to doubt your own mind, take it from me. You can come back stronger. You can turn the key, and now I want to hear from you. What's the lock you're facing? What keeps you fighting, even when everything says you should just give up? Drop your story below, your fears, your battles, your blueprint for what's next. Because, honestly, this fight isn't just mine. It's all of ours, and we're just getting started.